Welcome everyone, stealthyshiroean here, and today I'm going over lessons learned from my recently published game, Don't Let the Lights Go Out, and my overall thoughts on it in the end. For those who don't know, Don't Let the Lights Go Out was a small project I was working on that stemmed from something larger. It's about a character making their way through maze-like halls and avoiding enemies while making sure their light doesn't go out. If that sounds interesting, then you could play it now on itch, link in the description. Also, no download required, you could play it straight from your browser. And if you do, I would really appreciate any and all feedback, good or bad. Now, to get into the lessons learned. None of these are ordered in any way based on importance, but I did try to group them together based on the area they were associated with. And these are lessons I learned that I think would benefit me, not necessarily that they are tried and true things that would benefit the viewer. But I hope that maybe this might help you as well in your own game dev pursuits. Prototype more. I did a bit of prototyping in the beginning, but really was just a scene to test if the features I implemented were working. I didn't really create anything to test if my game was actually fun. I think some things I could do for the future to improve this is plan out various encounters with enemies to create smaller level design pieces. This would entail drawing up multiple scenarios that use and combine the mechanics in hopefully interesting ways. This would help with creating levels and maybe help with designing more uses for the mechanics at hand. I think there could have been more ideas planned around needing to siphon or distribute light, but since I skipped this step, I didn't really think it through completely. Use pen and paper to plan. And to create those bits of level design, I should literally just sketch them on paper. I did this a little bit with some of my level design, and it made things a lot easier to visualize, and it was a lot quicker than throwing down placeholder sprites in Unity. The last 10% really does feel like the first 90%. I got to a point where I had all my features implemented into the game, along with the majority of the systems, and naively thought everything would be smooth sailing from here. I just needed to design the levels, find sounds, create UI, a main menu, and implement the music. That should take, what, a week, right? Yeah, that wasn't the case. I definitely underestimated my task and got lazy near the end, or what I thought was near the end. Like the hare, thinking that I practically was at the finish line. Some things will take longer than others, and if a task is completed ahead of schedule, then I shouldn't let that lull me into complacency. And even my time misjudgment aside, there were so many things that weren't quite as easy as I thought. Little things kept popping up that I needed to fix, which all added to the overall time. Working on something consistently helped build progress. Now this one probably seems pretty obvious. Of course working on something consistently would make progress. But the obvious benefit aside, I found it helpful for other things. First, it allowed me to be more aware of what I wanted to work towards, and there were none of these moments where you come back to a project after not working on it for a week, and needing to take some time to refamiliarize yourself with what you were doing. Second, it helped me see the progress consistently building on what I did recently. Finishing things in a consistent manner really helped spur me to keep working to get more things done. I think one thing I did to help me stick with this was literally thinking about what I needed to accomplish the next day to help me fall asleep. I would be in bed waiting for sleep to take me while thinking on the next day's task. I don't know why this worked, but it just kept things in my head, along with the daily list that I would make. But maybe this was just a placebo. Be better at updating Trello. This one started off well in the beginning, but it got off track fairly quickly. I did set up tasks for myself of what I thought I needed to do, but it wasn't until close to the end that I was trying to check it every day that I worked on my game. Furthermore, I didn't do well enough to stay on task with the actual tasks that needed to be done. I think I could remedy this by putting due dates on each of these tasks. I've done this before in the past, but for some reason I didn't do it this time. It created too many instances of, I'll get to it when I get to it, resulting in the things I didn't want to do to keep on getting pushed down until I finally got around to it. Make better use of GitHub. Well, first off, why on earth did I not make a GitHub repo until after I was finished with the game? I feel like that was playing with fire, and thankfully my project was okay. But I won't be doing that again. Past that, I think, had I been using GitHub, then I would want to be better about making branches for new features or mechanics. I do this a lot when working on stuff for Studio Hipsword, but for some reason I didn't bother with it at all. Reset static data. I won't pretend to know exactly what's going on here, or that I'm going to explain it right, but I'll try. I use a lot of public static events in my code so that other classes could listen for them. However, if someone were to return to the main menu and then start the game again, or even restart the scene, those particular classes would still be trying to access old data that got destroyed upon loading the new scene. So they needed to be reset so that the code wasn't trying to access old listeners that didn't exist. At least I think that's what's going on. Please fix my explanation if I'm not explaining it well enough, which I'm sure I'm not, and definitely help me if my explanation is flat out wrong. All I know is that it was crucial for me to reset this stuff because things didn't work otherwise. Don't use while loops in updates. Yeah, Unity doesn't like them, or infinite loops is probably the issue. I was able to solve my problem by creating an if statement in update that did the same thing as what I needed, since update runs every frame. Overall, I'm happy that I could finish the game, but I'm not sure that I really like it. As a beginner game dev, I suppose it's only natural that your early work just isn't going to be that good. I still have a long way to go in game design and other game dev related disciplines like programming or art. However, I'd like to still look at this with the critical eye. First, I think maybe I went too simple for the gameplay. I decided this as a way to keep scope tight and allow me to finish it. However, I think this simplicity made it difficult to create interesting level design. Obviously, the aforementioned lack of planning was an issue, but I think without allowing for a slightly expanded mechanic, or more ways to use it, I wouldn't have been able to do much better. The obvious example that many game devs seem to use is Mario, so I'll do the same thing here. In Mario, the main mechanic players will interact with over and over again is jumping. You need to jump to progress through the level, jump to defeat enemies, jump to get points and power-ups. I think adding some other uses for the light, such as using it to scare off enemies, might have added the right amount of complexity. One other very simple thing I could have done is find different sprites, or change the colors to certain enemies. In some rooms where there's a lot of enemies to track, it makes it impossible to do so since they all look the same. This is a big problem for the game since this was one of the primary things a player would need to do in order to get past several enemy encounters. Ultimately, maybe these things would make the game more fun, because I'm not really sure that it is. I suppose, as creators, we're always our harshest critics. But I think genuinely, overall, this game probably hits more as frustrating than fun. I tried to keep unfair game overs to a minimum. However, I'm sure that many players will only be able to get past levels because they've already died, so they know what to expect because the game doesn't allow the players a fair chance. Hopefully, I'll do better with my next game. And that wraps up my lessons learned and thoughts on Don't Let the Lights Go Out. Despite taking forever, and it maybe not being that fun, I'm glad that I finished it. It taught me things and how to grow as a game developer. I'm looking forward to the next project, which I already have in mind, and hopefully we'll be able to share some progress soon. You can follow me on Twitter at stealthyshiroean or follow me on itch.io. All my links can be found in the description. As always, let me know if you're following a similar journey or whatever it is you guys might be working on, game dev or otherwise. If this helped you in some small way, then please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.